comics fans, this is Scorp1701, and I'm very excited to bring to you tonight the Amazon exclusive DC Multiverse Gold Label Batman and Batmobile from the 1989 movie. And this piece is much sought after, very controversial, and I can't really remember a time when fans both hated and loved McFarlane for putting this out. So a little bit of history about this product is back in July, they announced that they would be issuing a 1989 Batmobile with a Batman figure. Now this comes on the heels of the Batmobile they released for the Flash movies. Now that one didn't include a figure of Batman, and it was a little less to be desired. That particular Batmobile had some issues in the fact that the canopy was a different color than the whole thing, and there was just a lot of issues that people found that the Flash Batmobile had. I myself was thinking, you know what would be cool is if McFarlane released a 89 Batman figure to go along with the Flash Batmobile. And to one up my thoughts, he put out the figure with a new designed Batmobile, and this Batmobile is the Batmobile that a lot of people were hunting for. Now another point of controversial comes with the way this was released. Back in July, it was announced that Amazon would get the exclusive on this Batmobile, and it was going to be released in limited quantities. Now that made everybody shudder. Limited quantities, exclusive to Amazon. Nobody thought that they would be able to get their hands on this. And since it was a gold label with an additional figure, people thought that this was going to be well in the range of $150, $200. So we all held our breath until the official release and the price. This was actually just $78, $79. It was crazy how inexpensive this was for getting the Batmobile and a Batman figure. But then came the problem of, when is it going to go up for pre-order? It's limited quantities. We need to be ready, but no time was announced. So people got up early in the morning waiting for this thing to launch. People were sending out videos and Todd McFarlane sucks and blah. And at some point I read on one of the feeds that someone had said that it was going to be going up at 1 o'clock. No one knew for sure. It wasn't an official salesperson who said that, but it seemed likely. So I contacted Queen Bravo because I was at work. It was almost 1 o'clock at this time, and I said, can you go up to Amazon and see if you can find this thing and see if we can get it? I doubt, since it's in limited quantities, that we would actually have a chance. But 2-3 minutes later, she sent me back a purchase invoice. I'm like, holy crap! Queen Bravo comes through again. She is so great. I'll give her a big hand if she was here. She didn't want to come in and record with us tonight, but that's okay. All right, enough of me babbling about how great this thing is. Let's take a look at it. So as you can see, it is in this huge box, and the box is so big that we could not be in our regular review station. We had to be at the kitchen table, and we're going to be actually switching back and forth because when we do the figure, we'll go back to the review station, but when we do the Batmobile, obviously it's going to have to be here at the table like I do all my huge vehicles. So anyway, coming back to the box, you can see it's huge. You have the gold label right here. You have the awesome 89 Batman symbol here, DC Multiverse Batman and Batmobile. You have the Michael Keaton Batman looking all cool standing in front of the car. And this is a very nice picture. It is basically glossy on top of a matte background. You have 12 plus, 22 inches long, 60 centimeters if you want to go that route, but I don't care much about that. Coming to the side of the box, you have the awesome Batman film logo again, Batman and Batmobile, McFarlane Toys. Coming to the top of the box, you have Batman and Batmobile, 22 inches long, the bat symbol credits, Batman beside his Batmobile, some cool backdrops, and what he looks like in the cockpit fits most 7-inch figures, McFarlane Toys. Coming to the other side of the box, again, the Batman symbol, Batman and Batmobile, Batman, McFarlane Toys. Coming to the bottom of the box, you just have a repeat of the front. It's just not as wide. And finally, coming to the back of the box, some credits for the box and a barcode. And that is pretty much the box. But no one wants to see this awesome figure and vehicle in the box. I know I don't, so let's get them out and see what they can do. And here we have Batman and the Batmobile out of the box, and all I can say is, wow, this thing just looks amazing. This is something that I think I've wanted ever since 1989, and I saw the Batmobile zoom across the screen for the first time watching the 89 movie, and it's just so amazing just taking a look at it. I'm quite literally speechless, but the show must go on, and what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a look at the Batman first, and then we'll take a look at the Batmobile. So, taking a look at the Michael Keaton Batman from the 89 movie, we will jump back into the review station. And coming real close in on the Dark Knight, out of the box, he stands 7.5 inches to the top of his horns, and he is just a beautiful, beautiful figure. Now, a lot of people will say, well, this is just a repaint of the Michael Keaton's figure they put out with the Flash series. It is not a repaint of the Flash Michael Keaton figure, and I will bring that one out for comparison in just a moment. But first off, I want to take a look at this fantastic looking figure himself. So as you can see, starting off, he has a very nice black cow with large ears. Those ears are about 1/2 inch tall, and they are really nice. I like that the cow has some nice molded detail around the eyes. The eyes themselves look very lifelike. The mouth has a very nice skin tone. It looks very much like a Michael Keaton mouth. You have some lines coming down the side, some nice lips. I like that coming around to the back of the cow. You can see that it is on a head joint on a neck, so that is really nice. This is a design they should have used for the costume for the movie. I think Michael Keaton would have had a better time at it. But anyway, coming down, you do see the cow, which is supposed to come down to the chest to include this awesome bat symbol right here. Now, this is very indicative of the 89 movie because it has the two little points here and then the one small point down here. It is done in gold, which is really, really nice. So coming down, let's zoom out just a little bit so we can get a better picture of the torso. You can see that he has some nice abs molded in here, some nice shoulders. I really like that, coming down to some nice gloves. On the arms, you do have some molded detail in the gauntlets. That is really cool. You have the 3 bat spikes coming off the forearm. That is nice. And coming down to some nice fisted hands. And the hands are very detailed. You even got some good line work in there. So I don't know if it's picking up, but they are nicely done. I love that. All right, zooming back out to the utility belt. Very nice gold. You got some nice buckle detail here. You got capsule pouch here, a capsule pouch here, and on the other side, 2 capsule pouches. And when you come around to the back, nothing. It's just straight out, and that is really cool. And there's the back of the figure. Very plain. Nothing to really describe to you. So coming down, the legs are nice and glossy. Coming to the boots are nicely done. You got a lot of detail here on the front. And what's interesting about the boots is, I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's this little piece here molded on to the boot. It's kind of a separate piece glued onto the foot to kind of cover up the gap in the ankle joint, I guess. And that's really strange and neat that they would do that. So that is very unique to this figure. And coming to the bottom of the figure, you do get some treads, a little bit of copyright on the boots, and some peg holes for if you want to mount him onto his figure stand. All right, and that is what your Batman is going to look like. Moving on. And for articulation, starting at the head is on a ball joint, so you can go all the way around 360 degrees. It can look up, it can look down, and you got some wiggle waggle there. Coming down to the cape is cloth, so you can get this in some dynamic poses if you're so inclined. Of course, there's no wire in it, so I mean, you could just have it stretched out like this, and then you could drape it around the front of him, which is really cool, or behind his arms. You can do a lot of stuff with it, so I like it. And you gotta have a cloth cape in order to get him in the Batmobile, because if you had like a plastic cape, unless it came off, you would not be able to sit him properly. So cloth, definitely the way to go. This is exactly the same type of cape that came with the Flash Michael Keaton Batman, so that's cool. All right, coming down to the shoulders. Shoulders can come up from the body and back down. The whole arm piece can move around 360 degrees. If you're so inclined, you do have a separate bicep rotation, 360 degrees there. Coming down to a nice double jointed elbow. That is cool. Get some nice elbows in there. Fortunately, with the double jointed elbow, you do not have an independent forearm rotation, but that's okay. You do come down to the fist, and it does rotate 360 degrees, and it is on the McFarlane ball joint, which will go up and down, twist it around a little bit, and then you can go in and out. So that is really neat. Coming to the center of the bat body, you do have an ab crunch section. It can kind of go down a little bit and then up a lot, and then you can get some wiggle waggle there, and it is 360 degrees around for that. And that is built right above the standard waist articulation, and that will take you around 360 degrees from there, and that is good. Coming down to the legs, you do get a little bit of leg forward there and a little bit back, but not too much because the butt gets in the way. Out to the side, like usual, is going to be where you get most of your articulation in the leg. Thigh rotation 360 degrees, but watch out, because when you do that, you may wind up getting your figure stuck with underneath here, and you'll have to bring the trousers back out. So I missed doing that the first time I did the rotation, but that time it got me. All right, coming down, you got double knee articulation, which is really nice. He can kick his back, so that's crazy. And coming down to below that, there is not a boot cut right here, but coming down to the main foot, it does rotate 360 degrees, and it is on a hinge, so it can go up a long way, and it can go down a long way, and it can rock around 360 degrees. So that will bring you down to some toe articulation, and that will go up for you. So if he's trying to climb buildings or trying to kick a Joker in the face, who knows? All right, and that is going to be your Michael Keaton 89 Batman's articulation. Not bad, and I can guarantee you it's more articulate than Michael Keaton was when he wore this costume. Moving on. And for comparison, here you have the 89 Batman with the Flash movie Batman. And whereas they're both Keaton, you can definitely tell that the 89 is not a repaint of the Flash. It is very, very different. Starting at the heads, you can tell that this one is a lot more realistic than the Flash head sculpt. And I think it's because of the eyes, they just shine out there, and the mouth, it's very nicely done. This one is okay, but this one looks like he's a toy, and I don't know. I think the flesh tone in here is just so realistic. The cowls are definitely different. You have a more oval bat symbol here than a circular one here. The armor for the chest, a lot more detail in the 89 than you have here. The belt section, this is obviously less detailed than this thing because this has capsules and things all over it. The arms, little more detail, I think, on the upper part of the Flash as opposed to this. This is all flat and not a lot of detail until you get to the gauntlets. The shorts here are a matte. These are glossy. Taking a look at the legs, the Flash legs have some detail panels on the side, whereas the 89 Batman legs are all flat and not really a lot of detail. And then you come down to the boots a little further down, and the 89 boots have some more prominent detailed line work, whereas this is softer, but there's seems like a lot more of it on the Flash. Then you got your little additional panel here to cover the top of the foot, and this is just your straight out molded boot. So yeah, that is pretty much going to be your comparison with those two. The cape is the only thing that's the same, I think. Moving on. And full comparison, here you have him with the Action Comics Superman from DC Multiverse, and it looks alright comparatively. Now, I wouldn't be opposed if McFarlane put out a Christopher Reeve Superman. Maybe that could be in the works for a later date, but for right now, I think this works fine. Alright, moving on. And for comparison, here he is with a few of my favorite Batmen. The Alex Ross Justice Batman, the DC Essentials Nightfall Batman, and the Batman the Animated Series Batman. So yes, this is a lot of cool Batmen. And like I always say, each of these Batmen represents something different and they have their own unique place. Alright, moving on. And for accessories, Batman comes with a plain black figure stand. It's circular, it says DC, it has a peg for him to stand on, and we've seen it a million times. And also for accessories, I think there was supposed to be some sort of trading card in here with Batman in front of the Batmobile, but I couldn't find it. I may have thrown it out with some of the box debris, but you know what? I don't care much for cards. Now, that is going to be it for the 1989 Batman action figure. And with that being said, there's only one thing to take a look at now. It's time to check out this dude's ride. Now, before we jump into this thing, there is a little bit of assembly required. So when you come to the back here, you will be required to place these fins onto the back of the Batmobile. Now, be very careful when you place the fins. They are designed to be put in a specific place. Look at the bottom of the fin and you'll see 3 tabs, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. You'll have to line up the tabs with the ports in each of the slots, and there's a specific slot for each of them and they are not interchangeable. Once you get that on, you are good to go. Alright, so looking at some basic measurements for the Batmobile from the side, from the very front of the vehicle to the back wing section up here, you're going to be looking at 22 inches across, and that is a very large width. And coming to the front of the vehicle, from this tire point to the tire point over here, you got a 8-inch span, and that's really nice. Same 22 inches here, and when we move to the back, you're going to get a 9-inch span from here to here. I guess this part's a little bigger to compensate for where Batman sits here in the back, and that is really, really cool. Alright, so taking a look at the Batmobile itself, wow, this thing has got a lot of great detail in it, and it's very, very accurate to the film. Taking a look at the bottom of the Batmobile, you do have a lot of cool detail in there. You can see the wheel well, and then you can see this nice Batman symbol on the bottom, some silver for the bottom of the jets, and that is really neat. So yeah, it's pretty much a surprise from every angle. Looking at more specific details, we'll start at the front, and you can see that it has the huge turbine right here. I really love that. Always thought that that was a cool little feature of the Batmobile. You have nice bright gold headlights here. That is really nice. Coming to the side, you do got a lot of detail here. Taking a look at the wheels first, we'll zoom in real close there. You can see that the wheels are nicely done. This is actual rubber, and you have a nice silver for the hubcaps, and you got the bat symbol there. That is really nice. Some detail coming around the sides. You got some panels here. I like that. You have some nice silver for some engine parts. And what appears maybe is an exhaust thing. I don't know cars, but it looks really, really nice. You got some vents here. That is cool. Zoom out just a little bit so we can see what we're looking at. And coming back to the back tire and a fin. That is really nice, very bat-like. And then you can see the side of the canopy. You can look in there and you can see some dash gauges, but we'll get a little closer to that in just a moment. Coming back to the back of the Batmobile. Wow, look at these. Have some nice red brake lights here. It is coming across a little bit orange, but it's I guess it's an orangish red. You have some silver for the exhaust here and gunmetal gray here for the main exhaust. I wouldn't have been sad if they would have given us some sort of like blast effect here, but that's okay. You do come to the top of the back and you got some vents here, and those are nicely molded in there. I like that. And basically the whole car is this like matte black, and I think that's really good. That was one of the big complaints of the other one, that it was like the Flash one was glossy. Coming back to the other side, pretty much the same. You still got your tires, your vents, your exhaust, silver, some nice detail coming around the front of the car and to the tire again. And then if we move up the hood, we can see that there are some cool details. Now this obviously is not movie accurate, because if it was, these little panels on these sides would pop open and some machine guns would pop out, but that's okay. I can live without that feature. The middle section here is your button, and this button will activate the canopy. So if you hit it, the canopy will pop open, and you will grab it from the top here and just slide it forward, and that is really cool. And that will open up the Batmobile so you can see the driving compartment. So I'm going to lighten up the exposure and try to get in here really well so we can see that there is a nice seat in there. That is cool. It's got a lot of what appears to be stitch work on the seat. Really nice. And you have two panels beside it with a lot of buttons. That is neat. And then we can see the steering wheel up here. So that is cool. And we'll move the car around so we can actually see the dashboard, and there are a lot of panels there and a lot of gauges, so that is really nice. Very detailed for a small little car. I like that a lot. So yeah, a lot of cool things for Batman to look at when he's in there. All right. And that is basically what the Batmobile is going to look like. Moving on. And when it comes to putting Batman in the Batmobile, it is kind of tricky, but you can do it. Basically, you want to pull your legs up like such, bring your arms up and bend them at the elbow, give them a nice fisty or driving pose. And he's basically going to slide in there, but there's a few things you need to do first. What I like to do, fold the cape back, okay, and then bring it up through the middle of the leg so it gives him a nice cushion here, all right? Makes it nice and tight at the back. So when you slide him in, you're not going to have to worry about the cape getting in the way. And he'll just slide right down in there like such. But there is still a small problem with his ears. So basically you're going to have to move these ears behind the seat right here. So you can move him all the way out and then kind of push the head back under and bring it back, and that's one way to do it, and it's fairly simple. And once you get his ears safe behind there, you are clear to close the canopy on him. Dun, 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 dun. And there you have Batman in the Batmobile, and that is really awesome. And this Batmobile, it just rolls like butter. It is so easy to go, and I really like it. All right, so another thing I wanted to show off is we saw that the canopy will open when you hit this button here. Now, normally in the movie, the canopy moved forward all the way like this and Batman jumped out. But you can also, if you're so inclined, move the canopy up a little bit and then back like such, like a cockpit of an airplane. And then he can jump out like the same. So that is really neat. All right. A lot of people have been wondering if the Flash Batman can go into the Batmobile, and I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. He's basically the same size. So let's see. And the box did say fits most 7-inch figures. So bring that up. Bring his arms up. Fold this cape under and up through the legs. Let's see here. Experiment. Okay. And then let's put this all the way forward because I think we'll have an easier time getting him in there. So, all right, get it in. Squishing in good. Yep, he seems to fit. And let's move this head back. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. And then he's got his head in there, all safe and sound. And then, yep, he fits. So if you're wondering if the Flash Batman fits, he does. All right, moving on. And for comparison, here the Batmobile is with the Ecto-1, the original one from the 80s, well, the reissued one anyway. And you can see the Batmobile is really large compared to this. Now, I don't know if the scale is supposed to be accurate. I mean, the Ghostbusters, they were about 5 inches instead of 7 inches, but still, it's a neat little comparison. All right, moving on. And for comparison, here you have the Batmobile with the Underground Arsenal Turtle Van. And it's okay scale-wise. Obviously, the Batmobile is going to be a lot longer than the Turtle Van. But the Turtle Van is still big and bulky, and it could probably run the Batmobile off the road if it was so inclined and they got into it. So, I don't know. It's pretty neat. So, light-up features for the Turtle Van, still cool. Batmobile, wish it had light-up features, but hey, this was like $80, so I'm not going to complain. I think it was a good deal. All right, that is your comparison with the Turtle Van. Moving on. And for comparison, here you have the Batmobile with the Super 7 Thunder Tank. And when you compare the Thundercats and the DC Multiverse figures, they are pretty comparable in size. So we'll take a look at the side, and this is just going to be really huge to try to move around. So, it's okay. I think the Thunder Tank would clobber the Batmobile, but that is just the differences in the abilities of the vehicles. All right. Moving on. And for a final comparison, here you have the Batmobile with the Robeson flagship Optimus Prime. So, yeah, he's big. They're both big. It's really neat to see the figures that we grew up watching on TV together, and that is really cool. I like it. Semi-truck compared to the Batmobile, yeah, I think it scales about right. Maybe the deluxe size, the smaller Robeson Prime, may be better, but I don't know. Can't really tell because I don't have the smaller version, but this is really neat as it is. And we'll see the back. And you know I got to do it. Hey, Optimus Prime. Greetings. Transform. mercy. Yeah, so now, compared to the Batmobile, let's see. What would it look like if they did a team up and Optimus Prime had to stop the Batmobile from running amok? I think that's a pretty cool comparison. All right, moving on. And this has been the Amazon exclusive DC Multiverse gold labeled Batman and Batmobile from the 1989 movie. And this thing is just crazy cool. I am so happy to have an 89 Batman and Batmobile. Say what you want about the Flash movie, whether you loved it or hated it, it definitely rekindled an interest in the 89 movie franchise and Michael Keaton as Batman. So yeah, this is great. I loved the Batman figure. He was very nice. I'm glad it was not just a repaint of the Flash movie Batman. This was completely new sculpt. A lot of love went into this thing with the detail and the face, and I think it's a very realistic looking figure. This may be the same one they have in the movie packs, but that wouldn't be too surprising. I love the Batmobile. It is great. Now, I didn't have the Flash Batmobile, like I said earlier. I could never find it, but this one, perfect, great. I have no complaints about this. I don't know if I'd have complained about the other one I may have with the canopy being the wrong color and not matching, so that would be kind of annoying. But this one all matches. It's great. The canopy works, pops right open. You can sit them in there. It rolls so great. You can really get some miles out of this thing rolling it around because it rolls so well. The details in the cockpit, the details in the wheels and underneath, they just put a lot of love into this vehicle, and it's great to have if you love the 1989 film. The only bad thing I would say about this exclusive is that, one, it was an exclusive and it was put out in limited quantities, and everybody got a little upset trying to get their hands on it. I was fortunate. I got lucky. Well, Queen Bravo got lucky because all she did was log on and there it was. So it wasn't really a big problem for her. She's like, what's the big deal? She has the touch, I guess. But yeah, I wish this would have been made more available so a lot of people could get it without getting frustrated and angry. If you are looking to get this, it is available on aftermarket prices like the eBays, and unfortunately you're going to be paying $100 and $150 for it. But if you have the money and Amazon doesn't put it back up, which they did once, they put it back up again, but still that was for a limited time. Hopefully some of you got it then. So that's about the only bad thing I could say about it, is the availability. Highly recommend it if you could find it at an affordable price. Alright guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good night, and until next time, keep playing.